Thank you, Brian. Well, April is Child Abuse Awareness and Prevention Month. So on today's episode of In the Know, we're keeping you informed about what child abuse is, signs that you should be on the lookout for if you suspect a child is being abused, and some of the places you can turn for help here in Central Illinois. So today we're joined by Sarah Runyon, the Clinical Director at the Center for Prevention of Abuse. Welcome, Sarah.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I think it's, we live the mission of trying to help individuals live free from violence and abuse every day, and it's nice to be able to, promote the prevention and awareness, and being Child Abuse Prevention and Awareness Month is particularly relevant, so thank you.
Of course, and thank you so much for coming in and discussing this topic with us. So let's start by talking about what is child abuse. I know it takes many forms, so what is it and what does it look like?
Yeah, I think it does take many forms, and I think in the last few years it's gotten particularly broad because we traditionally think of child abuse as something happening in the home, in private, with parents, and you expand that to include child sexual abuse, which could be a stranger or a relative or a coach or something like that. But in this day and age, in the last few years, we've seen an explosion of online child sex abuse and sexual exploitation. And so you're right. I mean, it can look very different for different individuals. Young kids can present and demonstrate signs of abuse through being more clingy, reverting back to earlier developmental stages, bedwetting, not wanting to go to school, not participating in activities. Teenagers can get very depressed, suicidal, self-harm. So yeah, I think there's just, we talk about the stats and talk about that 1 in 4 kids is abused. Every 9 minutes, Child Protective Services uncovers child abuse.
Right.
And the reality is it can be anybody. Every kid is vulnerable to abuse.
Wow, and that's a hard statistic to hear. And it's even harder to live it and experience it and to know that it's happening in our backyard. Because I imagine you all see quite a number of cases here in Central Illinois.
Right, right. And we see, domestic violence, child abuse, sexual assault, and I think that people are still feeling like maybe that online sexual abuse and child exploitation, financial exploitation is happening other places. It isn't. We see it every day in Central Illinois. Teenagers being exploited online, consensually sending images, then being extorted for money to not have those images shown. It's a real problem in Central Illinois, and it's hard to manage and monitor.
Yeah, that is difficult, especially when I know a lot of parents are, they're trying to monitor their child's social media use or their computer online usage, but it's hard to sometimes keep an eye on that stuff.
Right, and we talk a lot about educating parents. It's really important to educate your teenagers and other kids because kids are going to their friends and talking about these issues more than they're talking to their parents. And so I think it's also really important to be sharing that information with kids, friends, relatives, so that we all know what to look for when that might be happening to a child. But any abnormal behavior, that your child is experiencing that seems different to you, isolating, depression, sleeping more, not wanting to go do things, avoiding certain people, certain situations, these are all things to be looking for with your kids.
And where can someone go if they suspect that their child needs help? Of course, of course.
So yeah, the Center for Prevention of Abuse, like I said, we are offering services all the time that are trying to help people live free from violence and abuse, and that comes in the form of therapy, shelter if somebody is seeking shelter from domestic violence or sexual abuse. We have a Safe from the Start program that is particularly important that I like to promote during Child Abuse Prevention Month because it really focuses on that 0 to 5 age range. And it focuses not just on the kiddo, but on the whole family. And so we see the siblings. We try to build in parental supports. Safe from the Start has a coalition of 60 agencies we work with in the area. And so some of that, too, is just making sure that there's seamless referrals and that every kid is being seen when they need those services and as quickly as they can. And just not forgetting that the family component in teaching families and women how to be safe and protect their kids is very important.
Right, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for coming in, Sarah, and for providing all this information. It's good to know that there's resources out there. Well, thank you so much, and stick with us. We'll be right back with another check of your forecast.